All right, so we are back. Okay, so now I have the spatial autocorrelation map. So I've got the data clustering. I've got what is it, a hotspot or a low spot? I have the Mississippi County data, and then in this particular case, I'm gonna ditch this crime county one or this crime county one for the national because now that I just have this one, I don't really want to deal with the rest of that. So I'm gonna remove that, which is going to be just fine. And then I've got this crime tag one here. So now I want to start heading towards either showing what's going to be done for a layout or what is going to be something that we can use to take a look at a web map. So both of those. So we're going to do static maps next, and then we're going to do a web map after that. So I want to take a look at each of these things individually and see whether or not they look the way that I want them to. So because I've gotten rid of the rest of the US, the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go and find a base map. So you can go to your plugins and you can go to manage and install plugins. Up at the top, you can just type in base map and there's going to be a bunch of things that pop up. Some of these work better than others, and some of these are potentially not going to be the thing that you're actually interested in. So for example, there's AUS map. So AUS map is for Australia, so probably not the thing we're looking for. I like base maps personally. This one is seems to function very, very well. It has like your normal ESRI ones. It has Google, Bing, those sorts of things. It's not super fancy is what I'm going to say, but for the most part, I'm okay with that because these are fairly standard base maps that we are familiar with seeing on websites. So I'm just going to, in your case, it'll just say install plugin. I don't need to reinstall mine. So once you install your plugin, so hit install, this one actually shows up under plugins, under base map management. So here I'm going to go to load base maps. Now I'm always partial to the Esri gray. I personally like the dark gray ones usually, but for this one, I don't really want a dark mode. I want to do a light mode in this particular case. I like these base maps because they don't have a lot of color, which means, and they're gray, and gray kind of goes with everything. So it lets me just really focus on the things that I'm interested in for my particular set of maps. So it's going to load that in, and so I'm going to make sure that it's dragged all the way down to the bottom, and we're going to call that one good. So for these ones, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make it so that these are unchecked, and I'm just going to start changing the symbology of the MS County data. So for the MS County data, what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on it, and this is going to pop back up with my symbology layer. So up at the top, I've got information. We're going to deal with that later. Same with source. We're going to deal with that later. The third one down is what's called the symbology. So normally it'll just load as an individual symbol. So it's going to draw the same thing for every single polygon. But for example, if we wanted to see where we had high amounts of crime versus high population, for example, or high amounts of crime is what I'm actually going to do. What I can do is I can switch it to something else. Some of these are going to cause a queue to break. I'm unclear as to what exactly, so just be careful with some of them. I normally stick to either the categorized or the graduated personally, but if you want to do other stuff and give her a go, by all means. So I'm going to go to graduated in this case. So this is going to let me do things with values. Categorized is good if you have text. Graduated is good if you have values. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to say, all right, I want to then under value do my crime tags, right? So I want to see where my crime tags are. I'm going to classify this right now. And so with this classification, it's done in equal count. So I've got 60 different counties. So it's going to try and put an equal number of counties into every single one of these buckets. And so that's how it comes up with the values here. So it's going to try and put like 10, so 12 actually, 12, 12, 12, 12, and 12 in each. And so there's only a few counties that actually have values in this case. So that's why it's doing that. So if I go down to mode, these are other ways that can be done. So you can do things like equal intervals. So every 5, for example. So 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, yada, yada, yada. Same thing with fixed interval. You can tell it how many. So I want it to count every 13 up, for example. Logarithmic scales, so base 10, natural breaks. This is what everyone hopes in terms of curved grades, right? So if you have an 89.4 and someone has an 89.9, you hope that those two get clustered together. And then if there's a big break, so maybe the next one down after 89.4 is 85, right? That big break there is where you actually put the value break instead of in like 89.5, which would probably be the proper rounding. Pretty breaks are things that are usually more readable. So oftentimes people don't really love if it's like, okay, well, I've got 1 to 3, 3 to 20, 20 to 21, 23 to 28, right? Like those seem like weird things. So pretty breaks do it at nice round numbers. And then standard deviation takes the mean or median and does it around assuming standard deviations. This one's good if you have if you're going from a central point, so highs and lows. You'll see this very commonly in change maps. So if you have like change in temperature, for example, over the last 20 years, high and low, or those sorts of things, or change of precipitation is actually a better one. So where is it getting wetter and drier? Standard deviation is usually a fairly nice one. In my case, I'm going to switch it over to these breaks, and then I'm going to say, yeah, we'll call that good. So I've got 0, 0 to 1, 1 to 4, 4 to 9, 9 to 64. It's not like super pretty, but I'm going to use it in this particular case. So next up, if I click on this top one here, maybe I don't love this kind of red thing going on. Maybe I want something else. So these will give you the list of all of the built-in ones that exist. There are a lot of them, and honestly, they're kind of better than the ones that Esri has created. And so I mean, you can choose one of these ones that you like, and if you don't like any of these ones, you can also create your own. So I can say, oh, I want to create a gradient, and then it's going to pop up with, okay, but what do you want that gradient to be? So maybe I want it to be, I don't know, let's go with this kind of, I don't know, let's go with this kind of teal blue sort of thing going on here. This is going to be an absolutely terrible map. Apologies in advance. And then I want to do teal, and I want to do it like a dark teal. Oh, let's go teal to black. Let's go teal to black. Yeah, this is going to be terrible. And so this is the ramp that has been created. Now, I can do other things, like I can mess around with what my transparency is as well. So this is going to gradiate that transparency. There's reasons to do this. This is not a cartography class, so we're going to call this what it is. Basically, do things that look nice is what I'm going to say, that don't hurt the eyes, and we're going to hopefully think that that's fine. This one is probably not going to be great, but we're going to do her anyways. Oh, actually, that turned out way less bad than I expected. I'm not going to lie. Okay, so then this is what this one is looking like. So we've got this value here where we have this high value, and then we've got the values all around it. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And so maybe though I don't want these lines to stand out quite so much, so I can go back to my properties and I can say, all right, well, my symbol is up here. So if I click on the symbol, it's going to give you what's happening in the symbol, actually. So maybe in the symbol, right now I've got this outline width that says that it's 0.26. Maybe I want to switch that to 0.1 and turn this kind of more into like a lighter off-white kind of color. And I can say, hey, maybe that one's going to look better. It's not bad. It matches the background a little bit more. I don't love it though, so I'm going to go back and make it a little bit darker. Not black though. I don't want to do it. I very rarely do all black or all white. Yeah, that one's not bad. That one's not bad at all. Okay, so there we go. So that's what we got there. Okay, so here we can see that this is what my crime tags are. So we've got these lighter colors, which are these no values. We have these dark ones, which are the high values, and then we go from there. So this is going to be how this one looks. And so then we can go back here and we can see, okay, we've got the dispersed ones. And so now this looks a little bit different because we can see that this one here is actually saying this random one here, this random bit here, this one is actually saying that, yes, it is random, but if we go back to how many it actually has the most, right? So this is why I said it was a statistical analysis. It doesn't necessarily always show you the exact, it doesn't replicate things exactly. It's showing you whether or not you have high, or it's showing you where your data is clustered, right? Which makes sense now because we have high value, right? So that one makes sense. But then we have high, low, high, low, high, low, high, right? So those high, low, high ones now make a lot more sense in that ring, which is not telling us that this one was in fact low. This one was just telling us that actually what we had was a very high value here surrounded by a whole bunch of low values. And then after that, we had another set of kind of high values outside of that, which is also why this was a hotspot cluster. So that's just what that one's telling you. So this one actually makes a lot more sense now, right? So that one makes way more sense about how this is clustered or not clustered by then seeing, oh, we have a high value, a low value, and then high values around it, right? So that's what this one is showing. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this crime tag one as well for the symbology. So with the symbology of this particular one, we've got other options as well. So you can also do things like point clusters, point displacements, and heat maps. So you can do the exact same thing where you do the single symbols, but you can also mess around with some of the other things. What I will say is that's fine for layouts. For your maps, point displacement and point clusters don't work. At least for the plugin that we're going to use. You can program these in separately, but these two in particular, they don't play nicely with the plugin that will package this as a leaflet map. Heat map's fine. You can do heat map. Graduated is best as graduated sizes. Categorize is a little funky. It doesn't play so nicely. It's not terrible, but it doesn't always play super nicely with the map either. But again, maybe this is something that you do want to have just for a layout. So for example, maybe I'm going to do point displacement. I'm going to turn these ones into, I don't know, let's do, I'm just going to do single symbols with these ones. Let's put this one as a dark blue with a nice light, with a nice light bit there. I am then going to keep it as a circle. That's fine. I'm going to reduce the size a bit. I don't want them to be quite so big. Maybe let's do it that way. I'm going to say okay on that. And then in here, I'm also going to add in a draw effect in this case. And I'm going to do an outer glow. Yeah, I'm going to do an outer glow in this case. We're going to see how that goes. Ooh, don't like that. Don't like that. Not a huge fan. Something went wonky with that one. Okay, that's fine. We're going to go back to doing single symbols. I'm going to go back and do the exact same thing that I did before. Whoop, there we go. I'm going to do this dark blue. I'm going to say that this is down to 1. I'm going to say that this is then also going to have a nice light, but we're going to head over into this nice, there we go. There we go. Hairline. And then we're going to go draw effects. There we go. We're going to do that. Does that look better? Still don't love it. This one. I don't know what I want to do with that. Blend mode, normal. Let's do a drop shadow instead. Let's do that. Let's do a drop shadow. Where is my point going though? No symbols. Single symbols. Interesting. Okay, so it's not loving. Okay, so this is new in this update. It doesn't seem to love these drawing effects, which is fine. It is just something to keep in mind, I guess. That's not something that I've had before. It has been fine before, so that's kind of news to me. Okay, here we go. This we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna turn this one here. There we go. Gonna do that. Apply. There we go. Okay, so there are all of my points. So now I've got my blue points. I have my MS County data there to show how my crime looks. Now, the only reason I did the MF points in this particular case is because I am going to do a web map later. But in the next one, we're going to do a layout that shows the MS County data and the spatial autocorrelation map side by side. But we will be back to do that.